Welcome back to the QuickBooks video series hosted by Protea Academy. Today in episode 9, we'll be looking at sales receipts and customer estimates. First, you'll have to go to the Sales tab on the left-hand pane and click on All Sales. On the right-hand side, you click the drop-down menu by New Transaction and you go all the way down to Sales Receipts. You can use sales receipts when customers pay you in cash or customers have already paid you to record a sales transaction. This is easier than creating an invoice that will then need to be paid at a later date. Let's take a look at creating our sales receipt. The first thing you'll need to do is enter the customer's name. If you set up the customer previously, all the details for that customer will pre-populate. We can see here the email address is already populated, and we can edit the email address or click on CC BCC to add other recipients. You can also click the Send Later button. This will mean that an email will not be sent when you save and close the sales receipt. The billing address also populates. This can also be edited. You will then choose the date of your sales receipt, and also on the right-hand side, you can see a pre-populated sales receipt number. This can also be changed. If you have any tags, you can add it in the tag block. This helps searching for the sales receipt later in QuickBooks. Also select the method of payment. There are 3 options: cash, check, or credit card, but you can also add other options. In the reference number, you can add a PO number or any other unique number that identifies the sales receipt. You then select which bank account you are going to record the sales receipt against. In the product and service block, you will select what item the customer is purchasing. This will populate the description and the rate of the item. You can change the quantity and it will automatically calculate the total of the invoice. If they're buying more than one product, you can add this on a second line item. If they need to incur sales tax, you will add it here under the sales tax link. We'll look at sales tax in a future video. You can also add a message that you want the customer to see on their sales receipt. And you can also add a message that will appear on their statement. If you have a PO, you can also add it as an attachment or any other items that are relevant to the sales receipt. Once you're happy with your sales receipt, you'll click on Save. Let's look at a few of the options at the bottom of the screen. You can click on Print or Preview, and this will show you how it will look in PDF. There are also some options at the top, like Highlight or Draw on the PDF, that you can make these edits. You can also click on the Download button or the Print button to save a copy in PDF or to print it out. The gear icon also gives you some options for your PDF. We can also make a transaction reoccurring. Let's click the Make Reoccurring button, and you'll see at the top of your screen further information appears. Here you can decide whether you want to schedule the transaction or just receive a reminder to process the transaction every month. You'll also decide how many days in advance you receive the reminder or that the transaction will be scheduled. You can also decide that if on that date you'll automatically send an email or you'll decide to print it later. You then choose the interval of your recurring transaction, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, and on which day you would want the transaction processed. You can also choose whether it's on the first day or the second day, or whichever day of the month you want it processed. And then the intervals will be every second day, third day, first month, third month, as applicable. Select the date you want it to start, and then if you want the recurring transaction to end, you'll select one of the options under End. Let's cancel this for now as we don't want to make it a recurring sales transaction. We can also click on Customize and choose which template we would like to use for our sales transaction. Under the More option, we can create a copy of this transaction, which is quite useful when the same customer is having multiple transactions. By copying this transaction, most of the details remain, and then you can just edit what they're purchasing and the quantity. You can also look to void a transaction. This keeps the detail of the transaction, but it changes the transaction to 0. If you decide to delete a transaction, this will remove the entire transaction from QuickBooks. You can also click on Transaction Journal. This is quite handy to see exactly which account was debited and which account was credited, showing you the journal of the sales receipt we just created. This brings up a new screen altogether. Over here, we can now see exactly which account was debited, the cash account, and credited, our sales merchandise account. Let's go back to our customers. On the All Sales tab, we'll now see our sales receipt. Let's go back to editing our sales receipt and continue looking under the More tab. As you'll see, we also have the Audit History tab. If we click on this, it will bring up exactly what was done in QuickBooks and when. This is very helpful if transactions get edited to see who exactly did the editing and what exactly was edited. You can find the Audit History tab on most transactions within QuickBooks. Over here on the All Sales screen, we can see the sales receipt showing up as paid. That's because we have already received payment for this transaction and therefore created the sales receipt instead of an invoice. Let's take a look at customer estimates. A customer estimate is if you want to send a customer the estimate of what your sales will cost. As you can see, if we choose a customer, the information is pre-populated, and we just have to choose an expiration date for this estimate. We then go down and add the product and services we are creating the estimate about, and change the quantity to make sure we get the correct estimate. We can also add further lines or multiple products to a customer estimate. As you can see, it has the same blocks as the sales receipt, and we can add in notes on payment or notes to the customer or notes that will appear on the statement. We can also add in any attachments that we need to add to provide further information. We can also print a copy of the estimate. If you click on the top tabs, you'll be able to preview how the email will look, as well as how the actual PDF of the estimate will look. At the bottom, you can share the link of the estimate or review and send in an email, save and new, or save and close. We're just going to save our estimate for now. Once you save the estimate, you can see that a new action tab came up on the right. Here, you can make a copy, delete, or review the audit history. For a sales estimate, we have the pending option here. If we change this to accepted, that means that the client has accepted the estimate, and we can put who it was accepted by and on what date in the estimate detail. On the right-hand screen, you can play around with the customization of the estimate, the payment methods by selecting and toggling on and off the different options, or changing the design of your estimate from custom to standard. You also click the gear icon Manage to open and close the right-hand pane. Seeing our estimate was accepted, we now see that the Create Invoice link appears on the right-hand side. You can click this link to turn your estimate into an invoice. As you can see, the invoice is pre-populated with all the information that was in your estimate. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll be able to either remove the estimate and therefore the information will go away, or add the estimate if you're turning your estimate into an invoice. We'll take a look at invoicing in a future video. Thank you for watching the QuickBooks video series hosted by Protea Academy, Episode 9, Sales Receipts. In Episode 10, we'll take a look at customer invoicing.